Hi, I'm Roger Travis, and this is my course, Classics in Ancient Mediterranean Studies 1103 from UConn. And if anybody knows what these berries are called, I'd love to hear it, because my wife and I keep disagreeing about it. Anyway, enjoy the lecture.
There's one specific thing in the land of the Phaeacians that Odysseus makes use of more than anything else, and that is storytelling itself. Remember, of course, that the Greek word mythos just means story, and that myths are really just stories. They happen to be stories that represent, as I always say, cultural truth values or rooty things. But because Phaeacia is, as I discuss in the Calypso lecture, a transitional zone between the wild supernatural world of the sea and the regular human world of Ithaca, Phaeacia ends up being the perfect place for Odysseus to tell stories. And this lecture is about the character, a Phaeacian, who is the most important figure for Odysseus's use of storytelling in Phaeacia. And that character's name is Demodocus. Demodocus is the bard of the Phaeacians. Remember, a bard is a singer of tales, and more than that, a singer of tales whose specific job is to tell epic stories. And his name seems to mean received by the people, or perhaps he who has a reputation with the people. And that's clearly a kind of advertisement for bards in general, that the bards of the Odyssey are slipping into their epic with a wink. That is, we really are as good as this quasi-magical bard of the Phaeacians, so you should receive us, you should give us reputation, and you should pay us. And more than that, and more specifically, you should feed us the way that Odysseus feeds Demodocus in Book 8 of the Odyssey. You may remember that moment where he gives to Demodocus the choicest cut of meat and asks for a special request, as if he's saying, play Freebird to Demodocus. But the special request he makes, as we'll see, is much more specific and much more important to him than Freebird would be. Remember back to Book 1 of the Odyssey, we were talking about the bard Phemius of Ithaca, and what we can immediately see when we look at Demodocus is why it's important that Odysseus have this transitional zone of Phaeacia, because in this transitional zone he finds a bard who is superhuman and yet is still connected with the human world. And that's essential because the thing that Odysseus is going to get by way of Demodocus is called kleos, and that's the Greek word for glory, but it really is closer in meaning to our word fame because it's closely related to a word kluo, a verb that means to listen. That is, in order to have glory as an epic hero among these singers of tales whose job is to sing epic, you have to make sure that other people are going to hear about you. And so whenever Odysseus is talking about what it means to be an epic hero, he almost always will talk about kleos, about this thing that can only be given by bards or by people who do the same thing that bards do. And that's going to be really important because Odysseus is going to show that he himself is quite capable of doing what bards do. He himself is, in certain ways, even a better storyteller than this magical bard, Demodocus. In the end, the most important reason to have Phaeacia be this semi-magical transitional zone is so that Odysseus can find Demodocus there and use Demodocus as a sort of kleos machine. In fact, the way that I always like to put it is that he's using Demodocus as if Demodocus were a game controller or perhaps a game console, so that he can play this Trojan War game that he wants to play and produce this kind of kleos that is, he feels, his due, and also, of course, the bards of the Odyssey feel is due, because we should never forget that the more the bards give kleos to Odysseus in the eyes of their audiences in archaic Greece, the more kleos the bards are going to get as bards. And when we see Odysseus having his interchange with Demodocus, he makes it completely clear that what he's offering to Demodocus is not just the nice cut of meat. He is also offering kleos that he will give to Demodocus because he promises that he's going to tell everybody that Demodocus is the greatest bard that he, Odysseus, has ever seen or heard. Here's the key passage at line 485 of Book 8 of the Odyssey. Odysseus the resourceful spoke to Demodocus, saying, Demodocus, above all mortals beside I prize you. Surely the Muse, Zeus's daughter, or else Apollo has taught you. For all too right, following the tale you sing the Achaeans' venture, all they did and had done to them, all the sufferings of these Achaeans, as if you had been there yourself or heard it from one who was. Come to another part of the story. Sing us the wooden horse which Epeus made with Athena helping, the stratagem great Odysseus filled once with men and brought it to the upper city, and it was these men who sacked Ilion. If you can tell me the course of all these things as they happened, I will speak of you before all mankind, and tell them how freely the goddess gave you the magical gift of singing. So just like I said, Odysseus is making a bargain with Demodocus. He is saying that if Demodocus gives Odysseus Kleos, he, Odysseus, will give Demodocus Kleos. In the next segment of this lecture, I'm going to bring in a modern parallel, which I'll then use as a springboard to show how Odysseus manipulates this bargain in an unexpected and very interesting from a mythic point of view way.